Hi, and welcome back to another week of the What in the World podcast. And today we have another Fullwell guest, Annalise. Annalise,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Oh, it's great to be here. I love being with my people.
We did already ask you that this morning, but the people want to know.
It's official now.
Yes. Okay, so the conversation today, before we get into your introduction, we've all been there sitting in a meeting with a great idea of a nagging concern, but people, wait, did I read that right? Or a nagging concern. There we go. But keeping our mouths shut because the vibes are off. That knot in your stomach isn't just nerves. It's the heavy weight of a culture where being yourself feels like a liability. I read that statement that you sent me ahead of time. I was like, we're going to start there. Before we get into it, who are you and what do you do?
I guess, who am I is like a whole long story, but
Give the condensed version.
yes. Where it's relevant to our conversation today maybe is, that most of my work life is involved in supporting leaders in their own personal development and developing the culture and the people around them. So yeah, I'm a leadership coach and I run workshops and things, but yeah, all around leadership. Love that.
Why'd you get into it?
I had some skills and experience coming out of the Army, and I care about people. And I think one of my favorite parts about it is that when we can help leaders, then that influences so many more people. And I've had my experiences in places that didn't feel the best. And if leaders just had different skills, I would have had a different experience. And I want that for other people.
Yeah. The topic that we're talking about specifically today kind of came out of, and I hope this podcast airs before ours does, was from Nate's podcast. And we were talking about psychological safety. And then afterwards he said, you got to get Annalise here. She loves talking about psychological safety.
I do.
So, no, I'm going to ask you a random question before we get into what psychological safety is.
Okay.
This is just a fun little fact. If your leadership style was a restaurant, what restaurant would it be?
Okay, remember Seinfeld from the 90s?
Yeah, I currently watch it.
I know, me too.
I love it.
I'm watching it again.
It's fun.
And Kramer had this idea for a restaurant where you make your own pizza pie, like make your own pie, okay. Right? And so when I think about leadership, I think about like helping people do their own thing, instead of being like, here, I will bring you your food. Like, oh, let's help you figure out, what you want, where you want to go and how to do it.
Clever, Annalise.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with Seinfeld.
You're probably talking to a specific crowd here. The Seinfeld watchers will love that. That's awesome. Okay, well, let's hop into the core conversation here. When you're constantly scanning for social landmines, you aren't working, you're surviving. So tell me a little bit about like what psychological safety is. Why should people care about it? Talk a bit about that quote that I just read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we are worried if we're going to be accepted or going to be punished for speaking up or just showing up as the human that we are, then that's taking up a lot of our mental capacity. And, like all that work that we could be putting into survival is like, that's heavy on us. We're taking it home. So there's the personal impact of it. And then also on the organization, like the research shows us that sometimes people are spending 50% or more of their time and effort at work just managing their image or just in that sort of survival state. Like, do people like me? Will I get in trouble? In a social sense, those social risks that we take. So that really takes away from how much we can give to the organization and what's just on our mind.
So piggybacking off that, what are the big costs for an organization who does not have psychological safety?
The day-to-day is just those ideas don't come up, the creativity when we're after innovation, like people really need to have that open, safe space in their brain for their brain to just wander off into neat places instead of being like, what are my lanes that I have to stay inside? Like, it's hard to be creative, when you're just not allowed, when you have to do it the way we've always done it or whatever. And then, yeah, just like when it feels bad at work, employee retention, like that's a huge, huge cost. So when people are looking forward to going to work because they're like, people love me and they're excited for me to be there and they appreciate me and I'm allowed to be myself, then people can stay. Mm-hmm.
Would you say now we're focusing on the nonprofit side of this whole podcast, psychological safety. However, I'm just thinking from maybe a more corporate standpoint, and you're talking like, oh, creativity and all these. What if there's like a certain type of business that creativity is just not needed and psychological safety is just a waste of time? What would you say to that? Or is there always a big cost?
I think it does. I mean, the answer is always, it depends.
Sure.
But I mean, if we think back to like the industrial age where we just needed people to like put a widget on another widget or whatever, then, there was more of an old school mentality around just like reward people for working harder and punish people for not getting it done. But now that we're in the information age and if we're talking about knowledge workers or specifically, like I've already said the words innovation, creativity, then yeah, we absolutely need our brain to be in that space, of open, calm, that creative space. So
maybe this is a bit of a random thought, which there might be a few of those this podcast. I forget what the book is called, but I read a book about a ship that sunk because of poor leadership. Have you read this one? It's like the crew and the staff were terrified to talk to the captain about this impending storm, and the captain was just like, we're carrying on, and it sunk.
Yeah,
because of a lack of psychological safety.
Absolutely.
The cost was literally lives.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Have you read that one? And what's it called? It was so good.
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know if I read an article about the same story or whatever, but yes. And there's so many of these examples, from like space shuttles, exploding because someone wasn't able to speak up and say, hey, this is an issue, or aircraft crashing, in the like surgery theater, if someone isn't able to be like, we're not supposed to do that kidney, right?
Wrong kidney.
Yes. So yeah, all the realms, and there's some organizations that do face more life or death. And then other ones are kind of more slow burn where we're burning people out, and it's like a different way of thinking about like life energy, that's being lost.
And one of the points that we were kind of bantering back and forth about earlier was performance plummet. Let's talk about that as a cost. Like, do you want to dive into a bit of how psychological safety could plummet overall performance? I mean, you kind of touched on it, but
well, I mean, on the individual level, when we don't feel valued and cared for, then we're kind of like, why would I bother? And we see people just kind of doing the bare minimum, and they're not lazy. In another environment, this person would be thriving and just working so, so hard. But when you're in survival mode for so long and you're kind of burning out, and nothing really feels meaningful, and you're not valued, and you can't, when you have a great idea, it just kind of dies, with you, and you see like all these dead ideas around, then you just start being like, well, what does it matter? And anyone would start doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's true. And then that kind of also, like we talked about, the death of creativity. Anything more to add to that? Like, yeah, I guess different organizations need creativity on different levels. Would you say every organization, again, kind of focusing on nonprofits, are you falling behind if you're not focusing on innovation and creativity? at this stage of the game?
I think so, especially because the world is moving so quickly, and nonprofits especially are often facing a lot of limitations, that might not be I'm not going to say they're not in other sectors too, but limitations around like funding and people and fits and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's when we can think of creative ways to overcome limitations, that's creativity. It doesn't have to be like artistic creativity.
True. Like, what's our next social media content? And it doesn't have to be that, but it just
or just great ideas, or like
solving.
We're coming up against this issue, and let's think outside the box, right? And so even if like your idea isn't the best, but what if you're allowed to say it out loud, and then someone will get the actual best idea, by riffing off of what you said, so yeah, creativity is important everywhere.
That sounds like our communications office. Like sometimes I think if we were recorded, people would be like, they should all be fired. Like they have the worst ideas. But then out of that comes like a reasonable idea with like elements of the thinking outside of the box. But because we've created this environment where like we all spew insane ideas out and like throwing spaghetti at the wall just to see what sticks. And it's fun. It's life-giving.
Totally.
So you work with Fullwell. Can you talk about organizations that you've interacted with that, the question I'm trying to get at is what are some good indicators that you've witnessed that people listening, if they are unsure of whether or not their organization is stuck in a psychological safety rut, what are some good indicators that maybe you are?
That you have, that you sort of have a lack of psychological safety?
Yeah, like what if this is just a brand new concept to somebody and they're like, oh, well, maybe that's something I should pay attention to. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, psychological safety is kind of like a heavy academic word. And but it's something that we've all experienced, like the example that you started out with, like I can't share my ideas, and so often when I do workshops around this, we start out by just tuning into what it feels like, and we all like intuitively know what it feels like, when you're kind of cringing or holding back versus what you feel like when you're like, I can throw this out and people will appreciate that I've offered something or taken a risk or whatever. And so things to look out for. One big indicator is just like we spend a lot of time in meetings, and in a meeting, do people with the most highest status speak the most, or does everyone have an equal opportunity to, and not everyone is as talkative, so not everyone is going to speak the exact same numbers of words, but does everyone have an opportunity? That is a really big one. And then another big indicator is around social sensitivity. Like, do we pick up on subtle little cues from one another? And I mean, part of that is emotional intelligence.
That could be a whole nother podcast.
Oh, we'll do one.
I like that one too.
Yeah, and just like awareness, But if you're in an environment that doesn't feel safe, in social terms, and your brain is so tight, and so just scared, then you might not pick up on cues around you. So and it.
What would be an example of a cue?
Like if something is being discussed in a meeting, and then someone kind of like shifts around, or like
physically, kind of just like.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah. And so body language, like picking up on body language, right?
That's another podcast.
Okay. Or someone like just makes a funny face or something. And then like to notice and then check in with that person. Like, oh, hey, like I noticed something happening for you. What's that all about?
You let a big old.
Yeah.
I feel that's an indicator too, probably.
Big time. Yeah. All those like subtle cues, or not so subtle, maybe passive aggressive, that we can pick up on and then address is another big indicator.
Yeah, that kind of gets into a bit of the neuroscience behind psychological safety too. And when you sent me your notes, I was like, oh yeah, the neuroscience side of things. Talk about what your brain does when it comes to social rejection.
Okay.
That kind of ties into the cues and feeling safe to speak. And
Yeah. I love the social or the neuroscience part of this, and of all of the things, because it kind of takes concepts that we know intuitively maybe, but makes them measurable and scientific. And that doesn't matter for everyone, but I get a kick out of it.
yeah, so do I.
So you don't have to go down this path if you don't want to. You can go down the more intuitive path.
Sure.
But what the research, I mean, they did the research where they like hook up your brain to the fMRI and found out some really neat things. A couple of the big things that came out of that particular research was, number one, our behavior is really motivated by seeking reward. And in the context of this conversation, let's think of reward as safety. We're seeking safety, connection with other people, that kind of reward socially. And then the other one is we're trying to avoid threats. So if, the cave-dwelling people of old, we might be like, okay, I'm seeking berries and warm fire, and I'm trying to avoid the saber-toothed tigers, right? Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is our brain can't tell the difference between physical threats, so the saber-toothed tiger, or social threats. Like the same part of our brain will like red flag light up. That's crazy. Regardless. Yes. And I have a perfect example of this. I was running a workshop and we were talking about psychological safety and this exact thing. And then later that day I went for a walk and a dog that was not on a leash was running at me. And I was like, I'm going to have to fight this dog. And I didn't, like it stopped at its certain limit or whatever. Like it only went to the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. But my brain was like, I'm going to fight a dog now. And
you could do it.
I think I could.
You're tough.
I was going to walk away from that. But as I was walking away from it, I was like, this feeling that I have in my chest, like the heart, the tightness, the whatever, heart rate, temperature in your body or whatever. This is exactly how I feel when I have to do the public speaking, which is a social risk, right? It's why we don't want to do the public speaking.
Right.
Or a lot of the social risks, we'll have the same feeling in our body and social rejection. And so it's just like a physical example that our bodies and our brains respond the same way, whether it's a physical threat, physical safety, reward, or social, psychological. So that was, that I thought was just like so mind blowing. And whereas it's like sometimes kind of hard to connect with the concept of psychological safety, we get safety. We get wanting safety and avoiding threats.
There was a word that you put in your notes, the cognitive shutdown. Is this kind of what you're talking about? Like the fear of the dog attacking you and the fear of social rejection? Is that when a different part of your brain gets hijacked?
Absolutely.
And what shuts down? Talk me through that.
Okay. Yeah. So when we've all heard, I think, the phrase fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And that's when we go into survival mode. And so then our amygdala, which is like further down in our brainstem, takes over. And it's like, anytime you're in like a scary situation and all you're dealing with is what's right in front of you, that threat. And you're kind of like cognitive processing goes offline. You're not making great decisions, or even if you think I'm so stressed this week, I'm overwhelmed and I might snap at somebody, which I would never do if I was like on the beach, like feeling great, I wouldn't just suddenly snap at someone. And so, when we're under all this social pressure and we're not sure if we're going to get in trouble for saying the wrong thing or whatever, then and this goes right back to creativity, right? Like it's harder to be rational and it's harder to think about things in a rational way and be curious and creative. And so it all just links back together.
Yeah. Rather than if you're thinking of like decision making from the front lines, it's like if you're just scared of social rejection, what kind of wild decisions are going to come out of that? What kind of poor decisions? What kind of non-innovative situation are you going to get yourself into, or rut? Like, it's really easy to get yourself into the rut. Yeah, no, I feel like a lot of us live in a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with our culture that we do that to ourselves, but yeah, it's not. I was just talking to a friend about, well, parenting. Like when we were, my babies are a little bit older, but in the phase of like 0 to 5, I think that was like a constant fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And I remember being livid at my husband for not coming home with cilantro.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's not about the cilantro.
It's not. It never is.
It's like if you take away that like high RPM, it's just like, okay, well, dinner won't have cilantro today.
Yeah.
Like,
you can put it all into context. And
you could probably make a beautiful thing out of the ingredients you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can tell what's important and not important.
Yeah.
But when you're in that bad place, that like, we're pressured to be busy all the time and achieve all the things and parent perfectly or whatever, then we don't have that ability to just be like, this is important, this isn't important, So it's big time.
Yeah. And Nate and I were talking a bit. I love going back to the SDI, but so sorry if this is annoying to the listeners to talk about SDI again, but there's 3 colors. Red is results, green is process, blue is people.
And Hub is?
Oh, and Hub is the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Are you Hub?
I'm Hub, yes. Well. I love the balance between
They're
all
the saints.
3.
The Hubs are the saints.
We're the best.
Yeah. But like when you are working with people who are just like results, it's just like all the blues are just like, let's settle down and let's care for each other.
Yes, exactly.
And so like taking like, I think the reds, the result driven people need to remember that the results won't be good. Don't waste your time on driving these results when your people feel like in that fight, flight, freeze stage all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just think everyone should do SDI. Do you run the SDI course?
Or... I don't. I've helped with some of the debriefs and stuff like that. Yeah, but I love the nuance in it, and I'm a big fan.
Again, I know I talk a lot about it. It's not the be all end all. Like, you're still an individual.
Totally.
God made who have multiple aspects to them rather than just red or green or blue, but it's just a helpful tool. Let's talk about how leaders even begin to tackle this problem. So say this is resonating with some leaders right now. Also, I'm thinking about that cilantro comment. That probably had nothing to do with anything. I just thought of being in the fight or flight.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's all these like weird little things that become like so important. Like we just lose perspective.
Yeah,
we are not our best selves when we're under any kind of stress.
Yeah.
But like psychological safety or lack thereof is like a specific category of stress.
Yes. Okay. I'll try to get them to edit that out, but we'll see. So
I think we saved it.
Thank you. Good save. Trying to tackle this problem. Let's go from how, if people want to learn more about how to tackle this problem, do you have any good resources?
Ooh. Boy. I'll just say first and foremost that I've seen people make huge shifts in their leadership just by knowing that psychological safety is a thing. And, just reflecting like, oh, like in the times that I didn't have it, it wasn't provided to me, and I don't want to be that kind of leader. And then the times that it was provided to me, and I want to be that kind of leader. And, some people get a lot of it, like a lot out of it, just knowing, okay, this is a concept. It has, now that it has a word, I can think about it, whereas when it doesn't have a word, then you're just like, I've had good and bad experiences, but there's nothing to sort of tie them together that you can make sense of it. So that's a big one.
Yep. Just being aware of the concept of psychological safety.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. That's a huge one. It's like, it sounds so simple, but it has made huge impacts in people's lives that I've seen. Yeah. Okay. Resources. So, I mean, there is a wonderful book by the Harvard, I guess, researcher, professor Amy Edmondson. She has written this very influential book called Fearless Organizations. Or is it The Fearless Organization? I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I think people could probably Google it and figure
People
it out.
can figure it out. Yeah, that was an earlier and very influential book that people who are taking this topic very seriously, high-powered CEOs have this on their desk. And it's something that we've been very influenced by at Fullwell as well. So yes, that's a wonderful foundational. On the sort of, if we want to go back to the neuroscience side, David Rock, who's the co-founder of the Neuro Leadership Institute, has written a few books. I'll mention a couple. One is Quiet Leadership. A lot of people know that one, and I think there's a TED Talk attached to that one. And then another one is Your Brain at Work. So that's a lot about your brain, at work and how we can do things to help our brain be in like that better place. And one of the models that came out of the neuroscience fMRI research it's called the SCARF model. It is SCARF is an acronym. And so if you're thinking about, okay, how do I create psychological safety? One way is just like, what works for me? But if you need to kind of organize it, or if you're a person who organizes it in categories or whatever, then this can really help. So S is status. How important people feel. Am I making people feel important? Like eye contact, smiling, acknowledgement. It's simple little things, just like human connection. C is certainty, which is like, what does that even mean? But it's like, it's hard not to know what's going on. So we can think about this in terms of transparency, open communication. The more we kind of know what's going on, the more we can relax and be like, there's a plan. A is autonomy. So that's sort of the opposite of being micromanaged. It's more around being empowered. R is relatedness. So if we feel important to other people, not in so much in the status way, but just like those connections, like having connections with people. And F is fairness. So is everyone sort of treated in a fair way? Do the rules apply to everyone equally? So many things, and when you think about those categories, it's like, oh, that really bothered me in that team or whatever, when it's like, it didn't seem like everyone had to follow the same rules, and that really erodes that sense of safety and even certainty, trust. So yeah, exactly. So that's sort of a simple way of thinking about it. But then in terms of like maybe more I don't want to call it an intuitive way. I've got stuck on that word now, but
That's okay.
A really powerful way for leaders to create psychological safety is, and this is going to maybe sound like a complicated phrase, but to lead in vulnerability. So what does that mean, vulnerability? Like, do we have to spill all of our, splatter all of our emotions and like air all of our dirty laundry? No. But what about just like showing that you're a human being, or showing that you don't have to be perfect, or being like, oh, I really messed that up, or I'm kind of struggling today, and it gives other people permission to be themselves and to struggle and to make mistakes, because when we're always like, I have to be perfect, it's hard to be creative. So yeah, that's a really powerful way for leaders to start too.
SCARF. Okay. I already forgot the S.
Status,
certainty,
autonomy.
R is
relatedness.
As you can tell, relatedness. And F is fairness. Failed.
But it's something to Google, you know. It's easy to Google SCARF model, and then
but those were really good.
I know.
Helpful, like practical takeaways for today.
Super practical.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Talk about Fullwell for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Does Fullwell offer courses that addresses this? Or what courses would get leaders kickstarted?
Yeah, that's a good question because we don't have like a psychological safety course.
Yeah.
But you know, psychological safety intersects with so many different things.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, communication, emotional intelligence, like all of these things help us build psychological safety. And sometimes, you know, if the word psychological safety, like maybe people aren't ready for a word like that or like a phrase like that, then we can call it inclusion, or we can come at it from emotional intelligence, or we can come at it from communication, because all of these healthy habits help to build psychological safety. Yeah.
Have you seen organizations where you have a thought that maybe some leaders are too far gone in the sense of too much damage has been done, that it's better to start fresh? If you know what I mean, like hire new leaders, or like, you know, if somebody has hurt you really bad, it's hard to mend that.
It's so hard.
And especially in the work environment, if you feel burnt by somebody, you're not going to go near the fire. So how can a leader either come back from that, or is it best to start fresh in a non-toxic environment rather than try to mend the situation?
Yes. I mean, I think sometimes, especially if it's gone on and on and on for such a long time, it takes as long to recover as it does to, I mean, maybe not exactly the same number of months and years, but you know, if it takes a long time to create the situation, it often takes a long time to come back from it. And people really need to see a huge change in a leader that's consistent over time. So I'm not going to say, you know, I would never be like, this is too far gone, because you never know, you know, like miracles happen all the time.
We have a big God.
Yes. And there is something to be said for, you know, sometimes there's just so much damage and it would take a long time. And maybe this organization, you know, isn't in a place where it can take that long too. Yeah.
Okay. Just food for thought out there. I just was wondering if sometimes it's just worth starting over, or, you know.
I think it is. Yeah. And yeah, I like to go in, you know, with hope that things can change. And also, yeah, we do need to be open to that. And I just want to touch too on, like, when we talk about leaders, my definition of leadership is very broad.
What's yours?
You know, like a lot of times we think of leaders as like senior leaders and CEOs. But when I think about leadership, I think about it's like anyone that we have an impact on. Like if I'm impacting someone or influencing someone in some way, that's leadership. And I can choose to impact people in a positive way. That's leadership. I can have a negative influence. You know, that's poor leadership, I guess. So you can always be like leading your neighbors, you know, your spouse, your children. Like it's all leadership. And so in that sense, we can all create psychological safety for other people. And even if maybe we're reporting to someone who tends to erode psychological safety when they're in the room, well, maybe when they're not in the room, the rest of us can create that sense of psychological safety. So yeah, often we're like, or I hear, but what if my leader, you know, no, we're all leaders, you know, we all like, let's focus on our little realm of influence and what we can do and not wait for someone else to fix it or do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great challenge to put out there, kind of to close things off. Like if you're listening to this, you are a leader. You have ownership and responsibility over certain things and how you make everybody beside you and around you feel. So that's a good challenge for people to be aware of that. Whether you're a mom listening, whether you're a truck driver, there's different interactions in everybody's day that can impact somebody's day.
Absolutely.
Well said, Jess.
Or their whole life, maybe even.
I didn't have enough coffee this morning. Annalise, thanks so much for coming. I know you got to zip off. And so Annalise snuck this in before she's got to meet her husband, which is very nice of you. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
All right. That concludes this episode of What in the World.
At Hungry for Life, we envision thriving global communities. That means right here in Chilliwack and across the world. HFL partners local churches and groups with international partners around the world. And through this, we hope to create lasting change. We have a 100% model, which means that people like you support staff like me, Abby, while having 100% of project funds reach the field. Don't know where to start with serving here or overseas? Check out our website at hungryforlife.org. Follow our social media or listen to more episodes of this podcast.